is happening with you guys? Welcome back to another video. I hope everybody is doing well. I'm doing pretty good myself. In today's video, we are going to be discussing all of the mods that I'm going to be putting on this car within the next couple of weeks, as well as what my future plans are with this car. So let's get straight into it. We are going to be going for a drive while I talk about this stuff, so it's a little bit more exciting for you guys to watch. And since the last video, as you can maybe see on the dash, I now have 1,020 miles on the car. So I actually just picked this up from its first oil change. So we are now on a full synthetic oil, and just to be safe, you know, got rid of any possible contaminants that could have been in the oil from the break-in. Sometimes you'll get stuff that flakes off. So to be safe, went ahead and did an oil change at 1,000 miles. Now we're good to go. As I also said in the last video, I was keeping the car off red wine. So now I finally feel a little bit more comfortable to take the car all the way to red wine. So I've definitely been waiting for this for a couple of weeks since I bought the car. And hopefully we can get a little bit more spirited driving in this video now that we have the new oil. So let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and put the car in track mode. I wish I could see my tack when I did that, but that works. And I'm gonna go ahead and pop a U-turn because I'm going the opposite direction that I need to. Let's go ahead and get another first gear in here while we have the space. I think it's limiting me a little bit to maybe like 7,300. I definitely hit red one there in first gear. Wow, I was not expecting it to shift that smoothly. I was expecting a little bit more resistance. I mean, not that it was just like super loose, but let's go ahead and do another one here. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's pretty much my first time really kind of getting on the car. I've definitely been getting into it more the past few days, but I wanted to obviously wait till I got the oil change at least to do full on pulls to red wine. Wow, that feels good. That feels really good. But yeah, I don't think it's letting me go. I don't know if it let me go all the way to 75. Not that it really matters that much, but I'll definitely get the juices flowing for sure. I don't have a ton of battery on my camera. I actually tried to film this video yesterday, but the camera, of course, kind of didn't want to cooperate. This time, instead of overheating, the battery died from a full charge. So I'm going to be kind of looking over in the mirror just to make sure it's still recording, but try to keep this video down to shorter than the last one and my other videos, because I evidently have a lot to say, and I did want to get some pulls in. You know, here is this is like the only stretch of road I've found that is 55, and there's like sometimes some space to actually drive the car, because I swear, like, every road around me, as I had mentioned, I just moved where I lived before. The roads were still kind of disappointing, but there was at least open space to actually, you know, like, open up cars, and it just kind of lacked twisty roads because we don't really have elevation. But here, it's a lot of intersections, still a lot of traffic, and that kind of stuff, which is really disappointing, but at least we maybe have this road here. I'm trying to get pulls in because I honestly have not been in traffic really at all since I've been driving around here, so let's get one in here. She's happy to open up. I can feel it. Car definitely feels more broken in and a lot better, and that's just with me learning the car now too and kind of getting more comfortable with it. This video didn't turn out how I wanted it to yesterday. I think I was just trying to be too technical with what I was talking about, so I'm just gonna kind of do a brief overview of the mods that I went ahead and bought and why I got them, and then we'll kind of talk a little bit about maybe what I plan to do with the car in the future as well. So I bought, well, thankfully, I'm not doing anything bad now. I think it's a scarecrow. I bought an extensive amount of parts from Steeda. If you guys aren't familiar with Mustangs and aftermarket parts manufacturers, Steeda is one of the most prominent manufacturers of parts, and they make all types of parts for Mustangs, anything from exhaust to suspension to really anything you can think of. I went ahead and went with Steeda because I liked that I could get pretty much everything that I wanted from the same place, and they had nice bundled packages of things that I wanted and parts that are perfectly compatible with each other, so that just made the most sense to me. They have a really good reputation as a brand, and I don't think I'll be disappointed with getting my parts from them. So the first thing that I got from them was their dual rate HPDE suspension package, and essentially what this comes with is their Pro Action shocks and struts with adjustable dampers, their adjustable front and rear upgraded sway bars, and their dual rate competition lowering springs. So I kind of fell into a lot of what ifs when I was buying parts. I didn't even plan to swap out the shocks and struts right now, but I figured I gotta take off the front struts if I'm gonna do lowering springs, so I might as well go ahead and swap out for better aftermarket shocks and struts, and then it's just a whole spiral from there. But I definitely wanted to do lowering springs, obviously, with getting new wheels, which I'll talk about the specs of those in a second. The dual rate competition springs that they offer is their most aggressive spring. I think it's almost doubly as stiff as the stock spring, so it's definitely going to be quite a difference. With it being such an aggressive spring rate, that's why I also went ahead and got their shocks and struts, because their shocks and struts are valved and designed specifically to be used with those springs. So I didn't want to put those springs on the stock dampers and then have issues with that. So that kind of all made sense, and I think that's going to work really well together. And then the sway bars, I also got their adjustable end links, which were optional, and then I got billet rear shock mounts, so I didn't cheap out. I don't even think you can use their shocks with the stock rear mounts, so it's either you drill or you get the upgraded ones. So obviously I got the upgraded ones. Otherwise, the next thing that I got was their Stop the Hop kit. So they offer a couple different iterations of this kit at different price points that come with different things. I got the enthusiast handling version, so it's like one of the upper tier iterations of the kit, and it comes with their independent rear suspension support braces, as well as their upgraded diff bushings. It comes with their subframe alignment kit and their subframe bushing support kit. So essentially what this does is, it's in the name, it helps to mitigate wheel hop under hard acceleration and driving, and all in all it just tightens up the rear end and the rear suspension, which in turn gives you better handling, better stability, better traction, supposedly. I've heard a lot of good things about it, and it's one of those upgrades. It's not something that you'll be able to look at the car and see it has, maybe if you looked underneath it, but it's one of those upgrades that hopefully when you would go to drive the car, you would feel a difference in the handling and the stability and the control because of that. So is it overkill for the street? Probably yes, somewhat, but I'm setting up this car so that down the line, when I go to push it harder and do more extreme things with it, it's already set up with things that it's gonna benefit from at that point. So that's kind of my thought process with that. I also got a front strut bar from them. It's gonna help hopefully tighten up the handling and the chassis more. I got their double H pipe, which is essentially a resonator delete. You can either go H pipe or X pipe, which is the design or shape of the pipe, and I went with H pipe because it gives it a more kind of classic muscle car, deeper tone, and X pipe is usually more higher pitched and kind of typically more raspy as well. And since we are going to be doing catless headers down the line, I definitely thought that H pipe was the way to go, just to try to keep the sound somewhat tamed once we are obnoxiously loud with the catless headers. So the only other mods I got were I got camber plates so we can really dial in the alignment, and then obviously I have a new set of wheels that are waiting to be put on. So the wheels that I went with are the RTR Tech 7s. They come in 19-inch or 20-inch. I got the 20-inch variation. Width-wise, 9.5 in the front, 10.5 in the rear. Offset in the front, I believe, is plus 32. It's around there, and then the rear is plus 45, I believe. Tires, I went with the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S, just like on my last car. In my opinion, those are some of the best street tires that you can get. And as I said in the last video, I really don't want to cheap out on tires because they're really important. So I went with a 275/35 in the front and then a 305/30 in the rear. So we are running a staggered setup. Down the line, I may go ahead and buy a set of 19s or maybe even 18s and do a squared setup on those to have a track setup. But for now, this is my street setup, and I wanted to be staggered, so that is the setup that I went with. I went back and forth on wheels a ton. There's obviously a ton of options, a ton of different setups you can run. I think the biggest thing for me was 19-inch versus 20-inch. And again, this is going to be my street setup, so it doesn't exactly have to perform perfectly or, you know, optimally for a track. So I did go for the 20s that, you know, aesthetically look in my opinion, a little bit cooler, and are gonna give it definitely a more defined look than probably the 19s would. I think there's good setups for 19 and 20 inch both, and there's also bad setups for 19 and 20 inch both, so I definitely went back and forth a lot on that and put a lot of thought into it. But this is the setup that I deemed to be good, and I was also able to get these from a place where I could get them with tires mounted and balanced and TPMS pre-installed, so that was definitely an added convenience factor to me. They are flow form wheels, not forged. I figured, you know, I'd rather get a good set of flow form wheels than a lower tier set of forged wheels. So I did go ahead and get those. And I think once we put everything together, the car is really gonna come together. Is the suspension and handling stuff overkill for the street? Yes, almost definitely. But again, I'm setting up this car so that down the line, when I'm doing more extreme things with it, whether that be taking it to a track or autocross or just general hard driving, it's gonna benefit from having those things. So as I said in the last video, I also deemed that obviously this car, you know, transmission is questionable. So far so good, knock on wood for me, but I think this car already has ample power. It already has a great powertrain, obviously, and I think it will benefit a lot more from mostly suspension mods. So that's why I went ahead and did suspension mods first. We do also have a weighted shift knob and a transmission bushing insert, which helps keep the shifter aligned with the transmission. Just, you know, some small things, nothing crazy, but I do think that that will help the experience as well. And other than that, I think that is everything that I can think of that I have for the car. We are still waiting for a couple parts that were being made. I have the majority of the parts now, but we're still waiting on the main things like the springs and the shocks and struts. So once I have those things, ideally they should be coming in next week. Then we're gonna go ahead and put all that stuff onto the car next week. So I'm super excited for that. Definitely gonna bring you guys some videos related to all of that stuff. The one thing I do wish is that I could have put the mods on incrementally and really feel how each thing, you know, affects the car. But can't have everything. Like I said, there was a lot of might as wells when I was buying things, and it just makes the most sense for me to do everything at once and only pay for the labor once. So that's where my thoughts were with that. Let's see if we can't get a little pull in here. I really didn't think shifting at over 7K versus shifting at 6K would make that much of a difference, but oh my gosh, this engine, you can really actually tell a difference. This engine comes alive past 6K, and it is awesome. It almost feels wrong to me to rev it out because I have been doing pulls with it and pretty religiously keeping it under 6K or around that. So for me to rev it all the way out, it's a little weird, but oh man, that's just so good. So otherwise, what are my plans with this car for the future? I kind of touched on this in the last video. I would say really the only other thing that I want to make better with this car is definitely related to transmission and shifting experience. So we we are 100% going to be doing a short throw shifter kit. Probably MGW, that's the brand I've heard to be one of the best, but I'll have to do more research and figure that out. And then down the line, I may do a full aftermarket clutch, depending on what else beyond this stuff I decide to do with the car. But at the very least, I think I will do a clutch spring and different clutch lines. And I think with that, we're gonna get a pretty solid experience, to be honest. You know, at a certain point when the clutch is more worn and, you know, could use replacement, then, you know, instead of replacing it with a stock one, I probably will swap in an aftermarket one all the way. But that'll be a little bit down the line. I think that's something I'll get to with time. Otherwise, not really much else I'd like to do. You know, I had mentioned with these suspension mods, obviously this car is lacking the Tremec. It's lacking the additional coolers that the Dark Horse has, the transmission cooler, the diff cooler, and the oil cooler, I believe is what it has. But handling wise and suspension wise, I think we are going to be pretty close to Dark Horse level with these mods. Steeda has like a flagship car, which I believe is called the Steeda Q767, and that car includes the suspension components that we're going to be putting on this car. The difference is, at least the ones that I've seen, they are Magneride cars, so they do include the same springs we're going to be using, but they are obviously using the Magneride dampers. So ride quality wise, we're not going to get the same ride quality as the Magneride's going to provide, but I do think that performance wise and handling wise, we are going to get pretty similar performance with having the Pro Action shocks and struts with the adjustable dampers. So I am really excited about that, and I think, like I said before, the ultimate goal is going to be to make this car essentially a Dark Horse equivalent without the Tremec. So obviously not as good. A lot of people would say, why wouldn't you just buy the Dark Horse? And the honest answer is just not having that much cash up front, and also wanting to make the car my own and build it for myself. And I think that's, you know, a pretty cool process to document and go through, rather than just buying the car that way. So that's really the plans with this car. You know, maybe we'll do some stuff with the brakes, maybe even full Brembo kit swap, but at a minimum probably upgraded pads and lines. So a nice little Z right there. Is that Tomei da? That is a Tomei. And that is a car, not the 370, but the newer Z. I did consider those, and I just drove one and just wasn't really that impressed by it, to be honest. Maybe I'll make another video talking about my driving impressions of a couple cars that I did test and cross shop when looking at this car. But I don't really have many other plans with this car. I think, you know, one other thing would be definitely full bolt-on at some point. So that's really just catless headers. I think I'll just probably keep the stock active exhaust. It's plenty good to me. But definitely catless headers, very likely aftermarket intakes, and maybe flex fuel, maybe full E85. It really depends. But, you know, with all that stuff, of course, tuning. And as I said, I'm holding off on doing that stuff right now because I know when I put those mods on, I'm gonna end up tuning it, and I would like to retain some of my warranty for right now. So definitely that's coming at some point, but as I said, suspension stuff first, then probably transmission, then probably bolt-on. So that's really the plan right now. Now, what's my actual intended use case with this car? You know, obviously with the suspension stuff, it's going to be, to some extent, a track and autocross car. Now, my biggest issue with that is not the wear that's going to put on the car. I do think that we may have to look at some cooling options depending on how far I go with it. I think I can probably get away with the lack of cooling systems if I'm just doing autocross. But if I go to dedicated track days, I may need some upgraded cooling to keep the car from overheating. But my biggest issue is the lack of accessibility to that stuff. I don't know how prominent it ever was, but it really just shocks me that I have not found any type of autocross events within 2 hours of my house. Like that, it's basically unbelievable to me. I just don't believe it, so I'm definitely going to look into it more. But if it really is true and there's no autocross within, you know, a certain distance from me, then that's honestly really disappointing, because the closest actual track that doesn't require like a, you know, private membership is about 2.5 hours, 3 hours from me. So I do want it to be accessible, but again, you got to play with the cards that you're dealt. And I honestly probably wouldn't even touch either of those things, but I'd like to be a little bit more sensible and not go insane on the street. At the same time, I am not aware of many good roads like other states have, like, you know, canyon driving in California and whatnot. So it is really a shame, but it's part of the reason I bought this car over something like a BRZ or a GR86 is because it at least has the powertrain that it's just fun to open it up no matter what. But again, are the suspension mods probably overkill for the street and my lack of places to actually make use of them? I would say yes, definitely, but I am gonna make it work and figure it out, because I'm not really so much a straight line guy, a drag racing guy. I like technical driving, I like driving back roads, I like track driving, so I am gonna figure out a way to be able to do that with this car, and that's why I'm setting it up for that. So with all that being said, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about for this video. I will be making another video probably this week or early next week, which will come out probably next weekend, 4th of July weekend, if I had to guess, which will just be driving. I'm probably gonna do strictly no talking whatsoever, and that will just give a full experience of how the car drives stock, and I think that would be a fun video to make. So after that, as I said, the mods are going to be going on, if not next week, then the following week, almost for certain. So definitely look forward to that, and at that point I am going to be making videos about the mods, my driving impressions with the mods, probably again reiterate what the mods are and stuff like that, and then we'll go from there. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought about it. Let me know what you think about the plans for the car, and you know, if you have experience with Mustangs, or you have mechanical background or engineering background or racing background, let me know your thoughts on what I'm talking about here and ways that I could improve the car further. I would really be interested to know. So with all that being said, I think we're gonna slow down and get a little safe pull-in right here to end off the video. A chirping tire is a happy tire, as they well say. And that's gonna do it for this video, guys. Again, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.